I'm Christine Dunbar from SpeechModification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. In this video, we'll look at how to pronounce threat, threaten, treat, thread, and tread. So the differences in these words are the vowel sounds and the initial sounds, the TH or T sounds, THR and TR. Let's break these down to help you say them smoothly and easily and to recognize the sounds in the words so that you don't have confusion between these. So first of all, looking at the word threat, this one has the voiceless TH sound. The symbol for that is this here. It sounds like th, and what you want to make sure is that when you're making any TH sound, your tongue is resting gently between your teeth and the air can flow. If your tongue blocks the air, if it's behind the teeth, or if you're trying to put it between the teeth but clamping down too tightly, you're going to have something that sounds more like th rather than th. So you should be able to feel that. It can be helpful to do the TH sound by itself. Then when you have to put it together with the R, the challenge here is those are two difficult sounds and they can be difficult to sequence. I recommend starting with the R. So for example, in threat, you would say ret, and then say threat, ret, threat. You can feel, if I say the R first, my tongue is ready for the R. I just sneak it forward for that little TH sound and then pull it right back into that tight American R. I do have a video specifically teaching you about how to do words with THR and THER, so check that out on speechmodification.com or on our channel page or in our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com. Then the letters EA typically say E, like in treat. That's the most common thing that they can say. But in some words like threat or red, the past tense, they actually say the vowel, like in the color red. So in threat, even though it looks the same as treat for the vowel, it is the vowel. So it may help you to rewrite that just as letter E to kind of visualize the sound. And then I wrote the two T's here instead of just one T because that's how we typically know that the vowel would be a short vowel or lax vowel when we have two T's. So thinking about rethinking of how we spell the word, sequencing, getting all those sounds, threat. You can also match it and say something like read threat, or I read about a threat, or he said a threat. Another word that you know has the vowel can help you match that. And then if we are saying threaten, what happens here that is a little bit challenging is we use what's called a stopped T in threaten and a syllabic N. Basically that just means rather than saying threat and letting that T out, I'm going to say the T but not let the air out, threat, and then I'm going to release right into the N, threaten, threaten. So I don't have much vowel before the N sound of threaten. It's called a syllabic N. The N sound itself is the full syllable, so it serves kind of as a vowel and a consonant. So trying threaten. You can check out more about this combination of stop T and syllabic N in our Sounds of English course. Also our videos for words like button, mountain, etc. that do that same pattern. So threat, threaten. Then when we move to treat, it's a little more straightforward. We have just our E vowel, the EA spelling that's more typical, like we have in read or in eat. So just remembering eat and treat have the same sounds might help you. When we get to thread, we're back to our sound. So between threat and thread, the only difference is that thread has the voiced D sound and threat has the voiceless T sound. Now that might seem straightforward, except that if I'm talking in regular speech in fluent American English, I won't typically say threat and thread with a clear T and D. I'm going to use a stopped consonant for both of those. So there's a threat, there's a thread. But you could probably hear the first time I said threat and the second time I said thread, because for thread, I held the vowel a little longer, and for threat, the vowel was a little shorter. So that just has to do with voiced sounds have a longer vowel if there's a voiced consonant at the end, and voiceless have a shorter vowel if there's a voiceless consonant at the end. Check out my video for bet versus bed, or my voiced and voiceless consonants videos, again, here on the channel, or you can check them out in our course, Sounds of American English. Gives you all these details about how sounds change in the words. So short for bet, longer for bed. Short for threat, longer for thread. And then lastly, the word tread has, again, the F vowel, but a T sound rather than a TH. So between thread and tread, for this T, tread, I do release some air. I do want to make sure that my tongue is behind my teeth, against the alveolar ridge on the roof of my mouth. For some speakers, they don't have much of a distinction between the T and the Th sounds. They make them both with the tongue kind of pushing on the teeth. You would end up then sounding like thread, thread. Hard to hear the difference between the two. The other thing that to notice in both TH and TR words, if you have a tendency to roll your R's or to use a more flap or a roll with your tongue in the front for your R, it's going to be hardest to change it when there's a T and R together, because it's pretty easy to say tread, tread, just leave the tongue in the front. Again, starting with your R can help you, saying red, tread, making sure that tongue is back and tight for the R, and just a little lift up for the T, or a little lift forward for the TH. Thread, tread. Using red to start gets the tongue ready for the R. In any word that has an R, the R kind of is the boss of the word. You have to be ready for that R, you have to set it up. So practicing it, starting with the R and then adding back in your other sounds is usually pretty helpful. You can get more help for American R in our American R playlist and our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com. All of our online courses are either free or available for under $2, so they're a really great resource to be able to help you get that foundation for pronunciation, to be able to say any word that you want in American English easily. I hope you'll check them out. I'll be back again tomorrow with another Word of the Day class, as well as on Saturday we'll have our live question and answer class. That's Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock Seattle time, 12 o'clock Eastern time, so I hope you'll be able to join me for that. Thank you so much for your comments, your likes, for subscribing. It really helps support Speech Modification's channel, and it's so wonderful to have all of your support. Leave me a comment with your suggestions and requests for additional videos for Word of the Day, or what you'd like to see if you're a channel member or subscriber. I'm happy to accommodate your needs. I'm Christine Dunbar from SpeechModification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. SpeechModification.com. Bye everyone. Thanks so much for watching.